baik tu dia jadi beratahu रेडियो फीजी बहुत रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
In the news tonight, latest COVID-19 case from Vanua-Levu. 6 close contacts quarantined. And schools to remain closed until June.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Edwin Nunn.
Fiji now has 17 patients who've tested positive for the deadly coronavirus. The latest case is a 21-year-old man from Vanua-Levu. This man is a relative and traveling companion of the earlier case from Labasa. They traveled together from India to Singapore and on to Fiji. Apanisa Wangairandovu has more.
The latest case comes after the latest round of tests conducted today, where 25 samples were tested.
Since his return to Fiji, this young man has not shown a single symptom of the virus. You will recall our original case definition for virus testing required that patients display symptoms. Upon returning to the country from overseas, this young man was in self-quarantine for 2 full weeks, up until the 5th of April. Free of any symptoms throughout the virus known 2-week incubation period, by all appearances, he was in the clear.
The latest case also sees a new lockdown period and places for Vanua-Levu.
Contact tracing stemming from this latest case has revealed the need for additional lockdowns on Vanua-Levu. The Vunidangi settlement between Nambowalu and Lambasa will be locked down for the next 28 days. The settlement lies along a stretch of vital highway which vehicles will still be allowed to traverse under 24/7 police monitoring, as no alternate routes into Lambasa exist. However, no passengers will be allowed to disembark or embark. No one in and no one out.
This has sent the health professional into overdrive, and government now extending all quarantine to 28 days. The lockdown of the Soso settlement as well will be extended another 14 days in line with our 28-day quarantine policy. Given the continued risk of transmission on Vanua-Levu, our ban on inter-island travel by air and sea will remain in effect.
But as we have seen, the time that is needed to ensure it cannot be spread can be far longer than the world first thought. And it's why we are now extending the quarantine period to a full 28 days. Both for anyone who is newly quarantined and to those who currently are waiting out their initial 14-day period. So for example, if you are on day 7 of your quarantine, you will remain in quarantine for 21 more days.
There is some good news, as the Suva lockdown will be lifted tomorrow morning at 5.
The progress of our screening and contact tracing has kept us on track to lift the lockdown of the Suva confined area by 5 a.m. tomorrow. The Namboa settlement, however, the site of the 2 of our coronavirus cases, is still a high-risk region. Given how long this virus has proven it can stay dormant, the Namboa settlement will remain locked down for an additional 14 days.
The Prime Minister adding that even though the Suva lockdown is lifting, the curfew hours remain. In addition, nightclubs, gyms, cinemas and pools stay closed. Public gatherings are still not permitted. Apanisa Wangairandovu, FBC News.
And Eleanor Turangaivu joins us live now from the north. Eleanor, what steps have been taken by authorities for the people of Vunidangi?
Well, Edwin, following the confirmation of the latest case today, police were deployed to Vunidangi settlement, the residence of the 21-year-old, our latest patient, to cordon off the settlement. Now, the settlement is located along the Nreketi to Nambowalu highway, and there are about over 20 homes in this area that's now being locked down by police. The community will be on lockdown for 28 days, and during this period, contact tracing will be done by health authorities. Now, no one will be allowed in or out of this lockdown area during this period, and police have also set up a roadblock along this lockdown area to monitor the movement of people and ensure that no one goes in or out of this area, and they will be there for a period of rather for the 28-day period of the lockdown. Edwin.
Non-essential businesses can open in Suva tomorrow, minus bars, nightclubs, cinemas, swimming pools and gyms. Attorney General Ayaz Syed Qayyum says even as shops reopen, physical distancing must be maintained.
Essentially regarding the non-operation of those businesses that weren't essential, and obviously they will now be allowed to operate, except for those areas that the Honourable Prime Minister highlighted. So, for example, swimming pools, nightclubs, cinemas, gyms, where you have, a lot of personal contact and you aren't able to maintain the level of social distancing.
6 people who were in close contact with patient 17 are now under observation by the Health Ministry. Minister Dr. Ifiremi Wangainambete confirms these individuals were put into isolation as soon as case 17 of COVID-19 was confirmed.
There are 6 close contacts that we've been keeping an eye on, and they now have been moved to a isolation facility in which we'll continue to keep an eye on them.
Education Minister Rosie Akbar says the schools will remain closed until June. However, the date schools will reopen is subject to change based on the situation on the ground at the time. Schools were scheduled to open next Monday. She says the break has been extended, recognizing that the coronavirus will be part of our lives for the foreseeable future and they must plan accordingly. Akbar says once the schools resume, internal exams will be conducted for Year 1 to Year 8.
Literacy and numeracy examinations for Year 5 and 7, and standard examinations for Years 9 and 11, and of course, external examinations for Year 12 and 13. We stress that these are extraordinary times, and parental guidance, supervision, and monitoring of children is paramount.
A Nandi magistrate who earlier acquitted 3 people for breaches of the Public Health Act has today convicted and fined an individual for the same offence. Siromi Turanga, the magistrate, today fined a 30-year-old welder, Abdul Ashram, $300 for disobeying lawful order. Ashram of Ngileloa Nandi pleaded guilty to disobeying lawful orders of the Prime Minister by breaching the curfew hours from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. However, the same magistrate on the same charge earlier acquitted 3 people, saying the Prime Minister had no powers to make any directives under the Public Health Act. And Nandi magistrate Siromi Turanga's acquittal of 3 men who breached curfew has been labelled as erroneous and flawed. Turanga dismissed the accused persons, stating the charges were unlawful because the Prime Minister does not have the powers to impose government restrictions, rather movement restrictions, under the Public Health Act 2020. However, Attorney General Ayaz Syed Qayyum says the magistrate made a grave error. The magistrate's ruling is based on what can be described as a technical error in the wording of the charges, which referred to the directive from the Prime Minister rather than the Health Minister. Syed Qayyum says the ruling also makes no mention of the Government Gazette, which clearly lays out the laws in relation to curfews and restrictions in movement.
Orders under the public health do not need to be gazetted as long as they are made known to the public. Nonetheless, the orders were published in the Government Gazette. We note rather disturbingly that the magistrate in question failed to consider, let alone refer to these orders.
Magistrate Turanga has acquitted 3 people, stating that the Public Health Act gives no powers to the Prime Minister and any decision that emanates from his directive is unlawful. The Attorney General says the Prime Minister's announcements are not a matter of law, rather a standing policy on all public matters relating to COVID-19.
To claim that this announcement by the Prime Minister dilutes their legal standing is baseless. It is common and common sense that a head of government publicly announces major policy initiatives even if the legal authority rests in a different ministry or department.
The government has confirmed they will continue to arrest and charge people for breaches of the Public Health Act.
The flawed decision by the magistrate in Nandi in no way jeopardizes the enforceability of the Fijian government's health protection directives. These directives are saving lives, Fijian lives, every day. And those who violate these directives will continue to be arrested and prosecuted.
Director of Public Prosecutions Christopher Pride says the state will consider an appeal against the decision, as it appears the magistrate may have made an error of law. And in the latest development this evening, Acting Chief Justice Kamal Kumar confirms handing the matter to High Court Judge Justice Vincent Pereira to review the decision. Justice Kumar says under Section 260 of the Criminal Procedure Act, the decision of Magistrate Turanga has been set aside on the grounds that the accused did breach the curfew and the orders were issued by the Health Ministry. Justice Pereira also found that the magistrate should have allowed prosecutors to amend the charge, and the last ground is that the curfew orders were approved by the Minister for Health and gazetted on 4th April. The initial matter will now be called again in the Nandi Magistrates Court on the 21st of April. Up ahead, questions over unions' response to COVID-19 and seedlings for backyard gardening in demand. Details after the break.
Nadang go aprosran kerse, go erkraki, do televizyon navarong na Radio Fiji One, nandom ibit.
Radio Fiji One, nandom.
Welcome back. Attorney General Ayaz Sayed Kayum says unions should consider relief efforts for members affected by COVID-19. Thousands are jobless, others have had pay cuts or hours reduced, but no union has yet announced packages to assist these Fijians. Kelly Vadala reports.
There has been widespread calls for handouts from the government, but many large unions which are flush with cash have not opened up their coffers.
None of the unions, unlike in other parts of the world, you have other union organizations that have come out. In many parts of the world, a lot of the unions come out and actually have a fund. They provide assistance to their members in times of strife, when there are problems. Obviously in Fiji that has not happened to date.
The tourism sector has been the worst hit, with about 25,000 workers sent home. National Union of Hospitality and Catering Employees General Secretary Daniel Rai told FBC News today assistance will depend on the financial positions of the unions.
Submissions by FTUC, prior to the budget, as you know that I mentioned that in Parliament. Many of those things we've already done in any case, which we had already thought about.
A number of these unions are known to have large savings and even have commercial investments which generate income.
I also understand that some of the people who are still working, the union dues are still being cut. That's something you need to ask the unions.
FBC News has also contacted other unions regarding the matter but has not been successful. Kelly Vadala, FBC News.
The trend in arrests made by police daily is a worry. Police Commissioner Brigadier General Sitivening Gilio says while fewer people are being arrested for curfew breaches or lockdown breaches, there are more social gatherings. Gilio says they are concerned about Vanuatu, where the arrests made in the last 3 days have increased. After 99 arrests last night, 31 were arrested for social gathering breaches in the north. The police commissioner says given that the Suva lockdown will be lifted tomorrow, they will work to ensure that people continue to adhere to the directives.
We don't want to happen in the greater Suva area. We're not out of the woods. We'll be changing our posture in regards to what we are doing to address the issue if we see there's an influx of people that are moving around aimlessly. We're looking at technology that further can help us get that message out.
16 farmers who breached restrictions have been ordered to pay a fine of $500 each by the Navua Magistrates Court. These farmers were arrested from 3 different places in Navua on Tuesday. They were charged with 1 count each of failure to comply with the orders and pleaded guilty to the charge. The magistrate told the men that restrictions have been placed for a reason and they should be taken seriously. The farmers are to pay their fines within 2 months or face 50 days imprisonment in default. More than 9,000 Fijians have received their seed packages from the Ministry of Agriculture as part of the COVID-19 response package. Fijians were seen lining up outside the Ministry of Agriculture headquarters in Suva from early today to get their seedlings. Karalaini Tavi with the details.
Due to an overwhelming response from the public, the ministry has rolled out its second phase of distribution.
We wanted to run into waves. The first wave was where we were targeting 5,000 farmers, but the response was quite high. So we anticipated to run the second wave on 15th of April. But given the overwhelming response from the public, what we did was we ran that concurrently in terms of we finished in the first week. In the second week, we ran the second phase or the second wave.
Kumar says the ministry is doing its best to ensure the seats are available for everyone.
In certain places, certain times when the seats are not there, we will take the details and the contact of the person, and then we'll give a call to them, and then they can come and collect the seats.
68-year-old Rosa Yalayala was among the 100 Fijians that gathered at the ministry earlier today. For Yalayala, the spike in food prices was the reason for her move to home gardening.
The reason I had to venture into home gardening was because of the change in prices of vegetables. I wanted this home gardening initiative to help me and my family during this crisis.
The Ministry of Agriculture has stressed that everyone needs to work together and get serious about the sector and their goal to be self-sufficient and resilient by producing food locally. Karleni Tavi, FBC News.
As COVID-19 continues to impact Pacific economies, leaving thousands of people jobless, it's important that Fijians work together to beat the crisis. United Nations Resident Coordinator Sanaka Samarasinha says Fiji's coronavirus challenge has been heightened by the devastation caused by Tropical Cyclone Harold. Samarasinha, who oversees UN operations in 10 Pacific Island countries, including Fiji, says they're working closely with governments to offer support where needed.
Some of the challenges are much the same as everywhere else in terms of making sure that that people are tested, that people are safe, that social distancing actually sinks in, people follow the policies, making sure that the equipment that's necessary for health workers are in place. You know, these are, of course, the challenges around the world, whether you're talking about New York City or Fiji.
And up next, it's Whitney with the latest in business.
Thanks, Edwin. In business tonight, uncharted waters for local exporters. And COVID-19 hits at the worst time. Stay with us.
My name is Neha and I'm from Kadavi. And Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Leading business, the COVID-19 pandemic represents an unprecedented disruption to the global economy as production and consumption are scaled back. Local exporters are in uncharted waters with many unknowns about the timing and aftermath of the disease. Kritika Kumar reports.
One local exporter claims he can't afford freight charges and is not able to send his produce abroad.
The air freight is too high. They're giving so high. It's more... US is close to $10 a kilo. That's too high. In New Zealand, it's close to $4. It's too high.
Minister for Trade says she understands his dilemma. However, it's all dependent on the volume.
More exporters can come together, then the freight charges can come down. But again, these are difficult times. It's extremely difficult where the options are limited.
Borders are closed at the moment and there is a disruption to logistics services. Kumar says some of the shipping services are also running behind schedule.
And of course, there are logistic companies that they're facing some challenges as well. So it's a different time zone at the moment, you know, something that we never expected, and it's happening right in front of our eyes.
Minister says, despite much uncertainty caused by the rapid spread of COVID-19, local food markets remain well balanced. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
Economist Dr. Rohit Kishore says the COVID-19 pandemic has come at the worst time. He believes there is no easy way out and all stakeholders will need to work together. Dr. Kishore adds the committee needs to be set up to look at economic planning going forward. He adds the global economy was already fragile before the virus hit.
It has come to the worst time. It has come at the worst time when the world economy was slowing down and likewise we were slowing down. If you look at our economy before coronavirus hit us, we were going down from 3 to 0.2 to 2.7, going down towards 1.
Gary from HFC Bank joins us now with the latest from the world money market.
The US dollar held on to hefty gains against major currencies despite a coronavirus-driven plunge in US retail sales and industrial production for last month. both falling 8.7% and 5.4% respectively. Australia released positive labour data for March. However, this covers the first 2 weeks of the month before measures were taken to contain the spread of the coronavirus. The data showed employment rose close to 6,000 against a forecast drop of 40,000, while the unemployment rate came in at 5.2%. The Governor of the Reserve Bank of New Zealand says negative interest rates are not off the table in its response to the economic fallout of the coronavirus crisis. Last month, the Kiwi Central Bank cut its official cash rate to 0.25% in its response to the pandemic. Markets are now bracing for more bad news when U.S. weekly jobless claims data is released tomorrow. It is forecast to be above 5 million claims. And that's all from HFC Bank for now. Vinaka.
Here, today's exchange rates are set this morning. The Fijian dollar today weakened against a number of currencies, including the Chinese yuan, US dollar, the PNG kina, the euro, and the Japanese yen. It grew against the Australian and the Kiwi dollar. Commodities fell across the board today. Crude oil closed the day at $20.43 per barrel. Gold dropped to $1,714 per ounce. Silver was at $15.36 per ounce. That's it from Business Tonight. Jamie joins you now with the latest from sports.
Naka Whitney, and good evening. Up ahead in sports, FRU chair nominated for World Rugby Executive Committee, and training alone a challenge for Flying Fijians winger. This and more coming up.
Bula, I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka, and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Fiji Rugby Union Chair Commander Francis Keane is one of the 8 nominees for the 7 available positions on the World Rugby Executive Committee. Fiji's loss to Uruguay at the Rugby World Cup in Japan last year was not a coincidence, according to Augustin Pichot. The former Argentina halfback believes Fiji's downfall against the South Americans was a result of a lack of quality competitive rugby.
FRU will have further discussions with relevant authorities regarding the Olympics.
Fiji Sports Commission, and I think once the restrictions on movement in terms of border into completed, then we will have further discussions with the Sports Commission. We've had the initial discussions.
Meanwhile, all local rugby competitions are suspended until further notice. Aquila Dama, FBC Sports.
With all sporting activities on hold during this coronavirus pandemic, most athletes have been left with no choice but to train in the confinements of their compound. Conducting his own training schedule is tough for young Flying Fijians winger Tuta Wainingolo, but he knows it's the only way to stay in the game while none is being played. Nina Rakautonga has more.
Rugby star in the making Tuta Wainingolo has always been used to training with his teammates, so training alone is a challenge for the 21-year-old.
Finding it very difficult, because training alone, there's no teamwork, but it challenged me a lot. Now I have to do it 100%.
Wainingolo hopes everything returns to normal soon so he may join his teammates in training.
I hope it will end soon, to be happy to get back to training with the boys and the team.
During this lockdown period, rugby players have been given programs to follow by the Fiji Rugby Union. Venina Rakotonga, FBC Sports.
The Fiji National Rugby League is hoping for the best when restrictions are lifted and all sporting events proceed. While current COVID-19 containment measures restrict sporting activities in the country, the FNRL looks forward to working with other sporting organizations to get their competitions and events rolling. Acting Chief Executive Don Natambe says they are already planning for when advisories allow sports to resume.
We know that it will not be the same, life will not be the same after things return to normal. And that is why we're waiting on government advisory, and I'm hoping for greater collaboration of all national sporting federations on how exactly we will plan to administer our sporting events once the restrictions have been lifted.
Now to play of the day, and international sports stars continue to get creative in isolation. The latest being All Blacks fly half Beauden Barrett and hooker Liam Coltman. That's it from sports this Thursday night. Coming up in the world of the weird and wonderful, toilet paper snow globes. Details with Edwin after the break.
Bula, I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka, and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Welcome back. In new media, with many stuck at home, an average person is now streaming 8 hours of TV and movies a day amid coronavirus. Cloudy periods with some showers and isolated thunderstorms were experienced over the northern division and eastern and interior of Viti Levu today. Elsewhere, fine apart from afternoon or evening showers. Looking at the west, it was mostly cloudy and humid with the heavy showers in the afternoon. Westwards from Pacific Harbour to Suva, humid with brief showers at intervals. Up north, a mixture of cloudy conditions and sunshine with a couple of drenching showers this afternoon. At sea, moderate east to southeast winds, moderate seas. Turning to the tides, the next high tide is at 2:46 tomorrow morning with low tide at 8:44. Sunrise is at 6:16 a.m. For tomorrow, cloudy periods with brief showers over the eastern parts and interior of the other larger islands. Elsewhere, fine apart from possible afternoon or evening showers. And the further outlook for Saturday, cloudy periods and showers are in the forecast. And in Fijian Pulse tonight, we asked, how has the Suva lockdown worked for you?
We have time with the family. Some of us used to go around, but this lockdown very helpful to us to stay with our family.
I am operating a canteen at home during this lockdown period.
Good with time to spend with the family, and it's safe as well.
It has not been a lockdown for me, I would say, because I've been working all this while, and once all is over, I really need rest.
It's the normal routine. Get up in the morning, do some house chores. If there's anything that needs to be taken from the supermarket, elsewhere, then go carry it and go back home.
I have been selling covers since the lockdown began. My stall is in Kinoya. It only operates from 3 p.m. to 7 every night.
And in the world of the weird and the wonderful, Christmas is months away, but retailers are already coming up with creative ideas. Believe it or not, the toilet paper panic buying tops the list of ideas. And recapping our main stories, latest COVID-19 case from Vanua Levu, 6 close contacts quarantined, and schools to remain closed until June. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. To our poll question segment, this week we are asking, should those caught breaching curfew be given mandatory jail time? Visit our FBC News website to answer. And to our shot of the day, skies painted a beautiful hue in Pacific Harbour, sent in by Ann Stevens. And if you're in a lockdown area in Soasoa or Vunithangi in Lambasa or Nambua in Suva, send us pictures and videos of what you've been up to. Email us fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our FBC News Facebook page or Twitter @FBC News. That's your news for tonight. Until tomorrow evening, Modemanda.
Bula, I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka, and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.